over the place.
Yeah, there's also a very high amount of AD on Counter Logic Gaming, though. You do have AP damage from both the Gragas and the Galio, but these guys aren't going to be building death caps and void staffs as the game goes on. Your two main damage threats in that Lucian and the Xayah will be heavily AD based, so armor can go a long way against these guys.
Yeah, build up some armor, but that's kind of like who's going to do that, right?
Right.
Phoenix1 has that Nidalee in the jungle. They don't have the Gragas, and they have the Renekton, right? The Renekton's going to build mostly like life items.
Like later on, you can see some armor, but early on, he's going to be going Black Cleaver, Titanic Hydra. Sometimes we see Blade of the Ruined King on him. And Tom Kench, as the support, you've got support items to take care of first. You've got Sight Stones, you've got...
I feel like Ninja Tabis goes a long way here in this game.
That's definitely the armor item that you're going to see of choice on the side of Phoenix1 for Zig, for potentially Mike Young. Even Arrow may be going for those options, 80 carries these days. You never know what exactly you're going to be seeing. But loading into game number 2 here, Phoenix1 wants to do what they did in game 2 yesterday against Dignitas. Find that swift win, find that team play. We saw them get a pentakill just after 20 minutes in that second match versus Dignitas, and 25 minutes in, they just won the game. Some excellent Taliyah wall placement from Ryu was the catalyst for this team to be able to make the rotations and the plays they needed to end the game swiftly. Probably one reason why the Taliyah was banned out by CLG this time around. Loading into Summoner's Rift for the second time now. The gate's about to go down, the player's about to run out. You expect to see anything too crazy level 1 here?
I don't expect much level 1 in this this game. I feel like CLG winning lane in their bottom side, winning lane in mid with Ignite on Lucian.
Ooh, okay.
Baby, that's the...
Gonna get aggressive.
I was expecting heal, but all right. That's sick. He's trying to go aggressive. Ryu will have Cleanse to try and deal with that. But this is going to be pretty bad for Ryu.
Cleanse doesn't work
and
in
Arrow.
Ignite anymore, does it?
Yes, it does.
It still does?
Yeah, Cleanse removes summoner spells.
Okay, that's right. That's right.
Removes all disables and summoner spell debuffs affecting your champion.
Excluding suppression.
Yeah.
If there's a suppression, you're still in trouble.
In terms of disables, yes.
But fortunately for him, there are no suppressions in this game. Zig and Darshan, the Renekton versus Galio, pretty common matchup to see these days in the current meta of League of Legends.
Yeah, Renekton will push out, Renekton will have an advantage, and then Galio just becomes this unkillable monster unless you got a large enough lead over him and got his turret, etc. So we'll see what happens there. Want to talk a little bit about masteries here, as we've seen that shift happen for jungle Gragas. It's been more of that Stoneborn Pact, especially when you have multiple AD carries. You get to take that, people start healing off their auto attacks in the late game. So we'll see what Dardoch goes for here, if he goes for like a Runic Echoes or if he goes for a Cinderhulk, because he has changed his build up on Gragas depending on what his top laner is, whether it's a bruiser or somebody who's a little bit more damage oriented. And then I also want to talk about Aphromu's summoner spell choice here, or sorry, not summoner spell choice, the mastery choice.
Right.
I got to have a long conversation with him about Rakan and his preferences on this champion when I was doing the Rakan breakdown. And he was saying some people prefer going for the Courage of the Colossus when you get the knock up in a team fight, having a big shield. But he's like, but you get out anyway, right? You get out with your E, it doesn't really matter too much, and you already CC people, so they aren't doing damage to you for a lot of the duration. People like Hakuo were taking Thunderlords. And he's like, well, it feels like you just have that one and done, and it's not that great. Whereas he goes for the Windspeaker's Blessing, and he thinks that the shield and giving it twice to somebody for extra armor and MR increases their trading, and makes him feel really good in the lane phase too, because he has that heal on top of it too. So Rakan has 2 ways to activate Windspeaker's Blessing during the laning phase to help his AD carry just have a little bit more trading power and resists.
And especially when he's paired with Xayah, remember, that has double the range on the shield.
Yep.
Rakan normally 500 dash range to an ally to shield them. When he's dashing towards Xayah, it's 1,000 instead. So very easy for him to stay within protective range of Stixxay and make sure that he's giving those buffs.
Yeah, cheats a little bit too, because it puts you on the other side of them, so it's like 100 extra units on top of that. So if you're engaging, you go to the other side of that person, and then you're even closer to the engage. If you're disengaging, you go to the back side of the person, and then you're even further away from danger. So it's a really neat ability in that regard.
Quick bursty trades from Zig in the top lane, exactly what you'd expect to see from that Renekton, as Mike Young going very low in his own jungle, doing a lot of clear. Decide to go over the wall here. Look to take the Scuttle Crab, heal up a little bit in the process.
Yeah, took the Raptors, and those are, well, a little bit rough for Nidalee sometimes, but took a decent amount of damage. We'll see what happens here. Oh, could
very easily run into Dardoch here. He's level 4, Dardoch's only level 3. Nidalee's an exceptional duelist and will do a lot of damage to Dardoch here.
And I like
He's
this.
forced to flash over the wall.
Mike Young doesn't go for the aggression, and this is a losing top lane matchup for Dardoch. So Dardoch's gonna wrap around, pull Huhi over, and they're gonna see that might have a fight here. Yep, there's Galio.
Mike Young's gonna be slowed. Galio looking to make the taunt happen onto Mike Young.
Huhi
going in for some damage, and Huhi is gonna be first blooded by Mike Young, who goes down in the process, giving double buffs over to Dardoch, over to Darshan, excuse me, who flashes over the wall. The miasma slightly too late.
Yeah, a little bit too late there to prevent the flash. Oh, that could have been perfect there to keep him there for a few more seconds, but he used the blast cone to get over in the first place, and that's what made it so he didn't have to use that. And now Darshan, this was a matchup that was good for Zig. Now it's bad for Zig. He has double buffs and he has triple Dorans after that kill. That's exactly what the Galio needs to do. Like, basically, I joke about it, Galio's full build now.
Right,
because all he does is
all
has
three
the
Dorian
interactive lane where he just holds down Q and throws it out. But Mike Young gets picked up here, but it was a great collapse onto Huhi, and then Mike Young goes for the top instead of the bottom to try and escape, and Darshan's able to pick him up there.
When you start the game as Galio, you pretty much have a quest given to you called Win the Lane, and the objective is pick up 3 Doran's rings. You hit all 3 of those, you win the lane, you're perfectly fine. You can just keep farming up, hit the back line with that Winds of War, and make it so you don't really have to interact with the enemy player that much if you don't want to.
And Zig hasn't backed yet either to use his teleport. Just trying to trade with Darshan, who has the double buffs. Full Fury, though.
Darshan's very aggressive.
What was I saying?
Good God, man. The slam into the ground.
I know this, that you lose that lane. You have it backed. He has triple Dorans. He has double buffs. Zig has just not been playing well this split at all.
Zig really not showing any respect at all towards his opponent and what he was capable of doing. That burst, remember, not only does the blue buff give you the extra ability power, well, no, it doesn't give ability power anymore. It gives you the extra mana regeneration, but it also gives you the cooldowns to make sure you get that rotation up that much faster.
Yeah, exactly. And the health regen of the red, the extra damage. This right here, it just, he's not even just trying to clear the wave at this point. He goes for the stun, and it looks like he didn't have an E there to try and get out. And then he may have just been trying to clear it so he could back, but that was too aggressive of a trade in that situation. I understand what Zig was going for. He wanted to clear the wave, deal damage to Darshan, so that when he TP's back, he's dealing with a half HP Galio with a full HP Renekton that just purchased, and a Galio with no TP. So I understand that's what he was going for, but he didn't respect the circumstances of this is a Galio that already got fed a kill.
With double buffs, and he's already shopped.
And you haven't.
Zig now back in his lane, still slightly ahead on farm. Got himself 2 different Doran's items and a longsword, so he's in an okay enough spot, but really, really mindful of exactly where he stands in this lane now against a 2-0 opponent. 2-0 Galio is bad enough. You can't allow him to continue to get stronger. Miasma placed down. Huhi returning auto attack.
Huhi's almost 6. There he goes.
Huhi's got the level 6. Calling's gonna be coming out. Kapow, kapow, kapow. Can he find the damage? Yes, he can. Who is he?
The CLG mid laner.
The CLG mid laner, of course, grabbing the kill. 1 versus 1, completely. Didn't even have the Ignite available, didn't need it. Got the damage.
They were both almost level 6 there, and then the 6 comes through for Huhi off the minions next to him dying, and then he just pops the culling. He engaged immediately when he needed to. Look at this though, Mike Young in the top side, going for that gank I was talking about last game.
Finds quite a lot of damage down onto Darshan. More burst coming through. The taunt gonna give him the courage of the Colossus shield. Darshan needs to try to escape this, but there's no way out. And the gank from Mike Young is successful.
And they'll get some top lane turret damage as well and pull Darshan or Dardoch up to this top side. There's no teleport here. And Huhi knows that Ryu can't really contest this wave. Throws out that. This minion dies next to him. And then he gets 6 and he's ready to go. And look at that, they get him.
Oh, Dardoch. Wow, okay.
I like this, the Bruiser Nidalee, or the Nidalee playing to the Bruiser top. That's what you want to see, and now Zig is back in this game.
And we were talking about how Zig made a mistake, underestimating his opponent, sticking around too long. Dardoch just makes the same mistake. He hangs around underneath this turret, doesn't give credit to the damage coming towards him from Mike and Zig, and ends up getting himself killed for it. Now Mike Young has the opportunity to give this blue buff over to his mid laner, but instead secures it for himself.
Yep. Much safer to give your own over, you know? Just wait, young Ryu.
Yep, we'll get yours in a minute. First, we got to make sure we steal this one away from them.
Yeah, and then he has to go to his top side, do this red, and then go around. So the blue buff will help this Nidalee do the route a little bit faster so they can get to that side.
Plus, I don't know about you, but when my mid laner just got done getting solo killed, I'm not always too eager to give him a blue buff. I gotta wait a second and make sure he's not gonna do that again, and then I give it to him.
Yeah, handing it off. Are you gonna do it?
Just be like, all right.
You
This is a test. This is a test. All right, as long as you don't die in the next 1 minute, we're gonna give you the other one.
Yeah, and then if it happens again, you don't give it to him for the next game.
Yeah, at that point, it's just, it's Nidalee buff at that point.
At that point, you add him to that list you have.
Darshan taunting up Zig as he tries to walk back towards the lane. Darshan, even though he was at one point looking really good in this lane, now he's the one with the level disadvantage. Ninja Tabbies and 3 Dorian's rings, though, we already talked about it. Even when you fall behind, if you're in a spot that's not too appealing, you can still participate in the lane, still clear out those minions.
Yeah, but things have been accelerated here. Ryu, though, who he next to Dardoch.
Oh, Miasma down, who he stunned up. Knight down onto Ryu, more damage coming through. Dardoch getting himself killed. Now Huhi gonna be exhausted, trying to find the kill onto Ryu, blowing the summoner spells, but will not get anything. And Phoenix1 turns it on in game 2.
And Phoenix1, I didn't talk about their composition much at the start because Counterlogic Gaming's looks a lot more cohesive with like double AD. They have the Stoneborn Pact and tanks, etc. and Engage. But Phoenix1's, like I said, it's all over the place. But they have so much skirmish potential. The Tahm Kench to bring people there, to out-rotate. The Varus, which is quite good in these little skirmishes, and the team fights as well as the Cassio. But then their top side of the map is just so strong at having 2-on-2s, 3-on-3s, and now they're bringing it into this part of the map, which is Counterlogic Gaming loves 2-on-2s in early fights, right? One of the bloodiest teams in the league, the bloodiest team in the league. And Mike Young is showing up big this game in his routes, really tilting the top lane matchup as well.
Phoenix1 is up almost 3,000 gold 10 minutes into this game. That is a massive gold advantage.
We've seen what great junglers can do to teams like Envy when Lyra got brought on, right? Revitalize that team. Mike Young, 100% KP right now, 3-1-2 on this Nidalee. And just like Jack said with Balls and the Diamond 2 meme, there's more to life than solo queue.
Right.
We checked his solo queue.
We were giving him a hard time for it.
I know, the worst win rate champion that he has. And seriously, this Nidalee has looked very clean, especially up against Dardoch on this Gragas. Abused that pick.
Maybe that's what's going into his head through this. He's Dardoch saying, oh yeah, he's just a Lee Sin 1 trick. It's like, okay, let me show you my Lee Sin.
My Nidalee.
Yeah, my Nidalee Sin. Dardoch hanging out behind this wall, though, seeing if maybe he can come around and do something to Ryu. But
Ryu checked it, but didn't see him. Still playing.
Still hanging around here.
Mike
Gotta
Young?
be careful trying to dive onto a Cassiopeia, though. There's a lot of damage potential there. CLG will be happy just to try to take down first turret, but not enough minions to accomplish that goal.
Yeah. X-Special rotating. Arrow has bot lane priority. He's actually winning in CS right now off of what happened in the rotations. 6A will pick up some on the bottom, but he's losing a bit. And now Phoenix1, across the board, every lane is a little bit further ahead than their lane opponent. This should be a winning situation for Phoenix1 if they just play skirmish style, play to the lanes. Look at this.
Mike Young again in the top side.
Zig
looking to help
Fury,
out.
stun.
Zig, the stuns are perfect, and even though Darshan tries to flash out of it, it's not going to do enough. Zig flashing away to make sure he stays alive, and the dive is clean enough from Phoenix1.
Zig played that perfectly. He had almost enough for his empowered W for the extra duration and stun. And what he did is he popped the Dominus ultimate for the instant burst in Fury, and then got the extra duration stun on Darshan. The spear came through, so it would 100% land, and you saw Darshan flash afterwards. If Zig did not ulti to get the extra stun duration, Darshan would have flashed the spear.
He again trying to force these fights onto Ryu, but Ryu's got the miasma, he's got the petrifying
Got
gaze,
him.
and he's got the solo kill.
Ryu with the solo kill onto Huhi.
Returning the favor from earlier.
Exactly. That was nice because what happened was as soon as the Q cast animation starts, Lucian is forced to look at you. And he threw out the petrifying gaze in that moment. But yeah, these are just kind of mechanical outplays right now happening from Phoenix1, or at least correct plays from them. You see right there, it wasn't red before, pops the dominance for it. Instant. If that hadn't happened, it would have been a stun there. That wouldn't have lasted long enough for the spear.
Aframu almost taken down mid lane, having a run here along with Stixay. Phoenix1 has 4 bodies middle. They've already got themselves 1 turret, seeing if maybe they can find some more.
Ooh, Mike Young going for Rod of Ages. Doesn't want to get burst out by any AD carries in this game. So looks like he'll be looking for that off the Catalyst soon.
Phoenix1 again looking towards this Rift Herald.
Oh, they got to be careful because Aframu has that super long range engage right now with the complete recombo using the flash and the charm. Well, see right there. There it is.
There
exactly.
it is. Right onto Arrow. The damage coming through. The root is out. Xpecial looking to save that 80 carry if he can, but it may not be enough. Arrow goes down. Xpecial will be number 2 as CLG grabs themselves a double kill for the mid lane.
And like I said, you got to watch out for that engage range, and this will get them that mid lane turret. Counterlogic Gaming will pick up their first turret of the game, where P1 already got that first brick up top.
And that also caused Phoenix1 to disengage from the Rift Herald, so they inadvertently stopped that objective pickup as well.
Yeah, Arrow just out of position there, as well as Xpecial, I would say. Because Counterlogic Gaming looked like they were on both. Dardoch and Darshan stopped the Rift Herald, whereas that's the engage there. The E into the Flash W with the R on from Afromu for the double CC, and they know the Arrow doesn't have Flash from earlier, and Xpecial was a little bit too far and didn't have Flash himself, so the Tahm Kench couldn't eat him up and then flash away and use his flash for the AD carry.
It was a good move from CLG, but honestly, they needed it to staunch the bleeding. They're still 3,000 gold down compared to Phoenix1, who's continuing to sit in a strong spot.
Yeah, basically the top half of the map for Counterlogic Gaming is just dying across the board. They are all 7 of those deaths. And then the bottom lane is like, what's going on, guys? Like, come on. And I really do credit Stixxay and Afromu with being possibly the best Rakan and Xayah combo in the world that I've seen so far. With the way that Afromu plays this has just been fantastic.
And it's fun to see, again, going back to the discussion on meta and the shifts in support, the way that playmaking supports have found their way back into the game, players who enjoy playing those, who excel on those. We talked about Xpecial, now talking about Afromu. It allows you to see them really set up some cool plays for their team.
Yeah, and speaking of setting up cool plays, Dardoch and Afromu both looking.
Ooh, Afromu thinking about that.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't have Flash, and Arrow does, so it's a high-risk play.
And he's right next to a Tahm Kench.
Yep.
So it pretty much needs to be instant, or Tahm Kench is going to have the ability to num 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 num.
Yeah, exactly. It needs to be
Gobble 'em
perfect
up
as
to
well.
safety.
And right now, I like the back timers because Infernal Drake in 30 seconds. And this is where Phoenix1 threw their last game. It was around that Infernal Drake in the setup. So now they're saying, not happening.
Nope, not today.
Throw it over towards Mike Young.
8% AD and AP is nice, having a Nexus is nicer. Not worth making the trade.
Exactly. They didn't even get it last time, right? It was picked up so quickly by CLG.
Right. CLG was just sneaking it the whole time with Dardoch, while everybody else was dancing around being like, oh yeah, we're not in there.
Oh. Mike Young and Ryu both are sitting on over 1,000 gold in their inventories right now. So this is going to be a little bit slower than you would hope, but they'll trade Rift Herald for it because Counterlogic Gaming don't want to actually go after this at all.
Yeah, CLG not feeling comfortable taking a 3,500 gold deficit team fight at this point in the game, so they'll switch themselves top side to the Rift Herald.
Yeah, this can get stopped. They're going to push mid here on P1 side, and I feel like this Rift Herald won't be done fast enough. They see it now. Arrow threw down the blue trinket that he purchased after getting level 9. They're going to get the mid turret and rotate up, try to stop the Rift Herald from going down. Zig is collapsing on the top side. He's going to cut off Dardoch.
This is
they're going to pick it up. They're going to pick
good
it up.
early rotational play from Phoenix1. This is where they out-rotate their opponents. Both yesterday and today, Phoenix1's pre-20-minute rotations have been on point.
Yeah, but they lose their top turret, and their bottom turret is going to lose a wave as well. So it's going to be questionable, but I like that. Transporting Arrow a little bit faster to the bottom side so the turret doesn't go down, and he picks up some minions. Tahm Kench. Great rotations, great mechanics.
Just getting Arrow right where he needs to be to pad those stats a little bit, get him caught up with the rest of the league, and make sure that he can be as fed as he needs to be for the mid game. We know Varus can be real scary. As long as he has enough money, you can throw those chains of corruption out, start up the fights, and get plenty of damage down in the meantime.
Yeah, the attack speed as well is really, it takes a long time to kind of ramp up to it. 3-4 items for the Varus to really kick in. And that's what they're looking for. And it's just Arrow to pick up even more attack speed. But they don't really have a gigantic front line. So instead of front lines, they're running multiple threats. But the threats need to be strong enough to get through the front line of Counterlogic Gaming fast enough. So it's kind of that race of Phoenix1 need to be ahead enough in damage to beat the tankiness of Counterlogic Gaming, because otherwise they just get rolled over by these tanks.
Right. And at this point in time, Phoenix1 is ahead enough in terms of the damage. Mike Young can just eviscerate people with these spears.
Yeah, and he's been doing fantastic. 3-1 and 3. Also, double Rod of Ages and a tier, so there's a lot of scaling to come through for Phoenix1. The question is, was this a dip for them in power because they purchased these items and are waiting to ramp.
And speaking of purchasing items, I want to go back to a question that you posed earlier on at the start of the game, talking about the build path for Dardoch. Thinking about Cinder Hulks or Runic Echoes or other things like that. He did go with the Runic Echoes approach in the Gragas.
Okay.
A little bit more damage at the start. It'll add some AP damage into this double 80 carry style comp, but at the same time, it delays the tankiness. It means that Mike Young has another target he can go after.
Yeah, and I like that from Dardoch. He's been doing that where he'll throw out the Runic Echoes for himself if he has a tank top laner or a bruiser top laner. If he has like a damage top laner like a Fiora, then he goes for the Cinder Hulk and just has tankiness for the team.
Stixxay sweeping up those minions pretty quickly for himself. The Emax on Xayah is a very effective tool for just raking all those feathers back, taking all the minions that you can.
And Aphromoo with the Ruby Sightstone very early on means he's going to go Talisman of Ascension. And I've talked to him about this as well, where he thinks people going Spell Thieves don't get enough out of the item, where you go Talisman for late game, because Rakan's Engage, both his Battle Dance and his Grand Entrance, are actually based off your bonus movement speed plus a static unit number of increased speed on the ability. So the faster you are, the faster the ability actually travels. So when you pop the Talisman of Ascension and the quickness, which gives you 200% movement speed for just a moment at max rank, it just is incredibly quick. And so Aphromoo is looking for those very flashy engages without having to use flash every time.
Aphromoo and Stixxay in a defensive position bottom, but they're going to have to defend against Rift Herald.
Yeah, the Rift Herald will do a lot to this turret. Get it to about half, and then it'll just pop it.
And I think it's going down. Nope. Almost one.
Almost.
That was almost really cool looking.
Yeah,
but not
very
quite.
close.
Not quite.
And I actually talked to Aphromoo about this too. I looked at the boot choices on Rakan. I asked him if Ionian Boots of Lucidity would become meta. And he's like, I really like them. I haven't messed around with them too much, but he thinks that because you want to have those summoner spell flash engages, he wants to splash on a lower cooldown. I'm checking it right now. 225-second cooldown on his flash. So every few minutes, almost every 4 minutes, a little bit lower than that, you'll be able to actually go for the engage.
Yep, 225 means you have the reduction both through the Ionian cooldown boots and through the masteries.
Yep.
So
Insight.
Loss of 75 seconds on that cooldown, which is honestly quite a significant impact. If you've got a 300-second cooldown compared to 225, that's more than 1 minute less on that timer.
Gives you a minute 15 of a window to actually do something and jump in there. So I'm interested to see that he picked it up and started messing around with it.
P1 continues to build their gold lead, though.
Yeah.
They've got it up to almost 4,000 gold now, and that's not even including the Ocean Drake and the Infernal Drake bonuses that they have under their belts. So CLG is continuing to play this one on the back foot. They're not trying to rush anything, not making any crazy risky plays, trying to get back into the game and put themselves in the driver's seat as quickly as possible, just scaling up right now.
Yeah, they have a few item breakpoints for CLG Gaming coming through shortly. Arrow eats almost a full culling, but he has the Nidalee to back him up. Mike Young, though, also picking up a decent amount of armor for himself to deal with this composition. And a Baron could be in the near future for Phoenix1, or at least a bait here. There's no Ashe to kind of constantly check like before.
And very similar to what we saw in game number 1, Zig is winning the split push at this point in time. So in game number 1, we saw Huhi be the answer to that. He was the guy who came down, tipped the scales in Darshan's favor, made that work. This time around, CLG's not in a spot that can own the map like that.
Yeah, and we talked about the warding for Phoenix1 around Zig not being good. Has a control ward, has 2 wards that'll help him spot Huhi on a rotation, because Huhi just started to play to that bottom side again after shoving up mid.
Special staying very close to Arrow all the time as well.
Yeah,
the CLG Kryptonite game number 1 didn't come through, but maybe it just takes a little while to kick in.
Yeah, Special, of course, like first match of the split, didn't play any for Dignitas. Moved to Phoenix1, and then, well, first game wasn't that incredible from him, but I do feel like there was some compositional mistake, or not mistakes compositionally, just team mistakes overall.
Yeah.
I felt like he did what he could to kind of just mitigate whatever damage was coming through. And he did a good job there. But we'll see. The laning hasn't improved too much. And Special wasn't known for the lane phase in the first place.
Well, P1 puts Mike Young on the Ocean Drake by himself. Doesn't really need any help taking that one down. He'll secure it very easily.
Yeah, they trade Ocean Drake for top pressure. And so the Baron was something that they just cleared all the vision out of, but they don't have the tankiness to do it just yet, or the damage in the same place.
Yeah, there's no way CLG's going to get a Baron in any amount of reasonable time. With the way they currently are, Darshan just doing everything he can to clear these bottom side minions out before Zig can get any additional damage onto the tier 2. 3 turrets to 3 overall. So the teams are actually tied in that respect. No tier 2s have gone down just yet, but both sides have removed that entire tier 1 ring, meaning that if either one of them wants to get gutsy, they can move a little bit deeper into enemy territory, get down some wards, try to keep an eye on those rotations. But if anybody's going to be doing that right now, it's Phoenix1.
Yeah, and like you said, with the wards and rotations, the wards on the bottom side of the map are actually pretty complete here in terms of vision for Phoenix1. They have wards all throughout the jungle. They just had their control ward in one of the entry points cleared out, so they do have to back off. But then that means they sacrifice all the vision on the top side. So you're placing ward spot, obviously don't have enough for the top side of the map.
Essence Reaver and Hurricane now done for Stixxay's Xayah. So going to have some more AoE potential as well as just the damage of the crits. The cooldown's really big for Xayah too, a champion that's heavily reliant on making sure that she has those Blade Caller roots and those Feather Storms to get herself out of trouble.
Yeah, the Rune's Hurricane is a little bit odd because it doesn't actually throw out extra feathers to my knowledge.
And yeah, that would be a little bit crazy if you had a feather from your main attack and a feather from both bolts. The champion would have just a ridiculous amount of feathers laying down on the ground.
Maybe he knows something I don't, but I've seen a lot of I've seen a lot of different Xayah builds, and this is the one that has been kind of the head scratcher for me, is the Rune's Hurricane. They just value the fact that he's going to build more AD and will have a lot of extra damage in AoE team fights. So if that's what they're looking for, then that's good, because you'll be able to hit all of these squishes at once.
Special tanking some damage here, but the root comes out, lands onto Afromoo, who's going to be jumping to safety off of the back of that extended range jump that he gets when he's next to Xayah.
Yeah, the battle dance incredibly far. Down bottom, though, Zig is kind of winning this matchup slowly but surely. Again, 2 levels up, waiting for Darshan to hit that next one. Gonna trade, heal, try to back up.
And it doesn't look like that damage did as much as it actually did, because Darshan's shield makes his health bar look the same, but it did actually hurt him.
Yeah, the first times you like punch a Galio as a melee champion or like a physical damage dealer, you're like, I'm doing nothing! And then you
doesn't actually hurt him, but it does. It does.
Yeah.
Oh! The damage. Is going in to make the entrance. He's got the Galio right behind him, but can they find what they need in terms of damage? Mike Young on the back line, going to be shot now by Huhi. Gobbled up by Xpecial, knocked up into the air yet again, and Dardoch's able to find the first kill. Stixxay under pressure from Zig as Huhi goes after Ryu. That's going to be a very important target to bring down. If they can do it, the winds of war will blow. But Dardoch can't make the chase just yet. Xpecial with another save onto Ryu. Darshan wants to go for this if he can, as Zig will fall to Afro and Stixxay.
This is just a complete routing of Phoenix1. They're going to turn on the Baron now.
This is what we've talked about, Zyrene, about Phoenix1, the objective control in the early game, but they still can't win the fights.
Arrow almost has ultimate. He's a few seconds away from it here, and Afro was trying to run.
CLG might be putting themselves in a really risky spot here. The miasma over the wall, putting some damage down onto these guys. Who he dashing right back in. Baron is still pretty healthy, honestly. Very low health bars on CLG. Who he drops. Darshan gonna be taken low. Ryu's still alive. Afromoo behind, and CLG's efforts are squashed.
Gotta be careful here.
Darshan is dead. Dardoch is the one that we're actually talking about.
Yep, here comes Mike Young from the other side.
Mike Young should show up in time. Dardoch's not going to be finding his way out of this anytime soon. Decides to take a blast cone, trying to get himself a little bit further away, but Nidalee is very effective at chasing him down. CLG with a pretty critical error there.
But now it might be a Baron for Phoenix1. The jungler down for 35 seconds. Darshan has teleport. Afromoo and Stixxay on their way back, but this goes down so fast because of the Cassiopeia.
Yeah, Phoenix1 very, very happy about CLG's decision to overstay for that Baron. Phoenix1 is able to make the punish, and now they might get even more. Stixxay slowed down and forced to flash away. Gonna be bursted through. A killing spree for Ryu, and Phoenix1 has found themselves an absolutely awesome spot to be at in this game. Afromoo the next target. Ryu still looking to chase, but no longer cares. The T2's the target.
Yeah, they have that Baron buff. They have Stixxay down for 30 seconds, and this composition does not have wave clear except for the Lucian ulti in a Q. It's kind of the Galio, but Baron minions, it does nothing.
Knock, knock, Zyrene.
T1
at the door, but Afromoo is not willing to let them in just yet. Ryu popping the cleanse to keep himself alive, as Zig on the front line will hold CLG at bay. It's still a 5v4. Phoenix1 trying to get themselves out of here. Xpecial taunted up, Spear comes back, finds its way into Dardoch. CLG goes too far, they've still got to respect what Phoenix1 may be able to turn this on. Well, P1's gone.
If you're chasing right now, you have double Ocean Drake as Phoenix1. They can run and actually just regen while they're running. So it's not something that's actually going to be incredibly favorable for Counterlogic Gaming to continue. But this right now feels a lot like it's a battle of the two supports trying to get what they can. Watch this from Afromo. He saw the start there of the Tahm Kench Abyssal Voyage, gets a 3-man double CC chain, but then the flashes come out. Mike Young is now on the other side. Xpecial gets knocked up, can't flash with Mike Young in his belly. He wanted to flash that wall with Mike Young, gets knocked up, Mike Young gets spat out, and then killed. So Xpecial a little bit late there, and then Dardoch wanted to flash the wall. Body Slam had 2 seconds before it was off the cooldown there. And then we saw Afromu try to go for another engage, and Xpecial stopped that last one on the top.
Change of Corruption fired off by Arrow. Don't find their mark. Afromu half HP though.
Yeah,
Dangerous level to be at for your initiator.
Yeah, definitely had to talk about what happened last time, but look at this. Look at the
Huhi goes over the wall. Arrow gonna be charmed up, stunned up, gobbled up by Xpecial, trying to get him away as Huhi continues the chase. Arrow gets shielded, Huhi's gonna be damaged, gets himself almost taken down, but Arrow goes first. Stixxay trying to work his way into the fight as Darshan will be soaking damage from multiple members of Phoenix1, and he will not get himself away. Mike Young will zone the rest of CLG, and Phoenix1 finds themselves the 2-for-1.
Yeah, 8,000 gold lead for Phoenix1, and this Mountain Drake will start going their way as well. This is just such a... This is an intense game in terms of the engages. Afromu went in, and then Xpecial, like I said, the battle of the supports. The QSS came out from Arrow. Didn't matter. Xpecial was there to help him out.
Phoenix1 have been ahead this entire game, and now they're starting to see the effects of that massive gold lead.
Right here, Afromu charms both of them, but doesn't get the knock-up on both and allows Xpecial to go for the nom there, to devour on Arrow, to keep him alive for enough time to return damage and make Huhi overextend to the point where Ryu has damage on him then.
Ryu 4-1-3 on this Cassiopeia. His survival a couple team fights ago where Dardoch wasn't able to chase him over the wall was so critical to allow Phoenix1 to punish CLG's Baron attempt, turn it into their own Baron attempt. And just like yesterday, where we saw Phoenix1 get their win in Game 2 today, Ryu's having an awesome performance. Yeah. And this guy stepping up is just paramount for this team to find these successes.
Something about Game 2 Ryu, right?
If every game Phoenix1 played could be Game 2, this team would be on a hot streak. They've just got to translate that Game 2 magic into Game 1s and Game 3s, and they're going to be just fine. But they've still got to close out here today. They've got almost a 10,000 gold lead, which is really, really huge 30 minutes into the game. I mean, that's not something you can easily overcome if you're CLG. Abyssal Mask and Frozen Heart on the Gallios, so trying to be as tanky as possible, but you saw what happened to him in the last fight, Zyrene. He was on the front line just trying to soak damage from multiple people on P1, and it did not work.
Yeah.
Zig getting chased down by Huhi, forced to flash out, the culling into his back the whole time. Huhi just relentless with this pursuit onto that Renekton flash forward. Couple more auto attacks, and Huhi takes him down.
Man, Huhi is having none of this today. The guy is just bloodthirsty. I am loving his play on these guys, being incredibly aggressive on the Lucian, on the Ahri, whatever it is. Huhi is always playing up, and that was a sick chase down with a crit there too off the Zeal.
And to make sure he got that kill was so important because it stops Phoenix1 from being aggressive across the rest of the map. They can't risk doing something 4 versus 5. They're on their back foot now for the next 25 seconds or so, which is a situation that hasn't been true the majority of this game.
Yeah, and the fact that Zig is once again in a split push situation without the vision necessary is just testament to Counterlogic Gaming being able to keep control of certain areas even when they're behind, but also kind of a red flag for Phoenix1 of, hey, why don't they have vision in these areas? And you can see Zig changes to the Farsight Orb because he needs to see these areas from a long range because nobody else is helping him out.
Phoenix1 does now have their top laner back. Baron's going to be live in 1:40. Elder Drake will also be the next dragon spawning. And remember that Phoenix1, one reason they've been controlling this game so well, they've had the Drakes the entire time. 2 Oceans, 1 Mountain, 1 Infernal. Complete control over that neutral objective means that when Elder spawns, that's going to be huge for them as well. So very, very big neutral objective concerns for CLG at this point in time. The last Baron nearly sealed their fate. when they unsuccessfully went for it. And Elder Drake, if that goes over to P1, man, they're staring at a troublesome situation.
Yeah, and I like how P1 are cutting off a lot of the ways that CLG get back in the game, and that's mostly through Afromu having those flash engages. Special has a QSS for himself now, so if he gets charmed, you QSS the charm, and you eat whoever, Ryu or Arrow, whoever is getting CC'd, and keep them safe.
Look at the damage that spear did to Stixay.
Yeah.
That was one Mike Young spear, took him down to about 55% health. As Zig and Mike are now setting up shop in the enemy jungle, Afromu gonna be forced to pop the ulti just to get the charm down. The root comes out onto Zig, but Stixay's forced to pop the ulti. Mike gets some nice damage with an AoE root, instead just calls it back onto Zig, who's gonna be gobbled up to safety. They take the red buff on their way out, but Phoenix1 will not find the team fight win.
Yeah, 20 seconds though on the Baron. It's a reset and a run for it with no vision from both teams. Stixay super low, doesn't even have regen or a way for him to really actually get a ton of HP back here.
He's got some honey fruits.
Yeah, that's what he's
That's
got.
something. He'll be in decent enough shape to still make the fight happen. Remember, multiple
Warlords, so yeah.
resources spent by both sides there.
There you go, the Warlords at this point. Yeah, it gives him so much off the AD. I always forget about late game Warlords, how much it heals people. We're seeing like 300 pluses from people just off of when it's charged. But right now, it looks like a pick. The setup here from Counterlogic Gaming, this is the team that's down 9,000 gold, and they have the position on Baron, and they're saying, you fight us, you come to us.
They're daring Phoenix1 to fight them. They know that they've had the advantage in fights so far.
Yeah, but Phoenix1 is saying, hey, we want mid priority, and you aren't really gonna do the Baron.
Yeah, they're calling the bluff. They're saying, look, you might be the better team fighting team, but we're currently the team with 9,000 gold lead, which makes us the better team fighting team.
Sometimes that can catch you though. We'll see, the QSSs are not up for Special and Arrow at the moment, so this would be the opportunity for Afromu to actually go for something.
Ultra now back up as well on CLG's bottom lane. Special gonna be taken low. Thick Skin forced out. With Tom Kench vulnerable like that, that also makes the people he can save more vulnerable. Huhi eating a spear, he and Stixay both now around half or lower HP. With those two big damage threats, that concerned with their own health values, CLG has to back up.
Yeah, going for the poke there. Arrow, Ryu, actually Arrow and Ryu, both right next to each other, trying to go for something.
CLG started it off. Root comes out, finds its way only onto Dardoch. Darshan can't be disabled. CLG's got to be careful. May just need to back this one up a little bit further. Instead, here comes Ryu, able to make the play. Afromu dead first. Darshan and Stixay have to retreat.
Ryu, burning.
Exhaust onto Huhi. Ryu stays alive. He's got the shield to make sure of it. More piercing arrows flying out. Darshan going to be taken low, but not taken down. Huhi getting himself away. One casualty in this fight. It's Afromu for 25 more seconds.
Yeah, Afromu tried to go for broke there on the back line, only caught Mike Young, then got some people afterwards, but you're still down 10,000 gold as Counterlogic Gaming, and the fights aren't going overwhelmingly in P1's favor, but they're changing that right now with the flank.
Stixay's caught out. Dardoch gonna be caught too. The niddly claws over the wall. And with the enemy jungler and AD carry dead, that's Baron number 2 for Phoenix1.
TP coming in from Darshan, trying to stop this with Huhi.
They realize it's going to be real hard to win this game against that second Baron, so they're going for the all-out defense. Darshan trying to stay on top of Phoenix1's back line. He won't be able to do it. Huhi gets over, trying to find the kill on the Arrow, but instead he's going to be sealing his own fate. And Ryu is unstoppable.
Looking for the outplay there, but he's not going to get it. And P1 will get the Baron.
They got the Baron, they're gonna get out. Afromu just has to stand by and check it out. He's trying to do what? I don't know what's going on. He grabs the kill onto Arrow, but he gets himself killed in the process.
That's a worth right there, though. Actually, you know what? I take that back. That may not be worth, because now you don't have as many wards to set up for the Elder Dragon that's about to come up. P1 won't have the same amount of damage, but they have a Cassiopeia. And look at this. Stixay starts half HP. Huhi starts half HP. The root goes on to Dardoch. And then the taunt in the backline was good, but then the follow-up from Afromu, he can't get everybody he wants. So he only gets the backline of Mike Young, Zig walks into it, and so does Ryu. And Ryu almost dies there, but then he's able to stay alive, and that's big because he provides enough damage in the later parts of the fight for it to be really worth it.
Phoenix1 now closer than ever to finding themselves the win here. Dardoch down to 2K. Dardoch wants and needs to steal this, but he cannot do it. Now Darshan trying to taunt up in the front line. Special down to half, but the stun comes out onto Darshan. Zig trying to occupy the backline damage of CLG, and Ryu is godlike. Stixay looking to run, but now he's stunned and he is done. Dardoch has to get away from this. Huhi hanging around on the side will not be spotted out just yet. Phoenix1, do they even need to care? They're Baroned up, they're Draked up, and Huhi is trying to just buy some time. Afromu knocking a special up into the air, but they've still got to be so careful here. The culling will not find the kill. The redemption coming down, the turret falling now in the mid lane. Huhi's still just fighting his heart out, trying to stop this. But Phoenix1 is one hell of a monster. Blessed up with this burn and this Baron. They're marching down the mid lane. They take down Inhibitor turret number 1. Inhibitor goes right after, and the minions are ready and waiting in top lane.
Yeah, I don't know if they'll even go for that. They have 2 dead, Stixay dead, Darshan dead. They're gonna try to go for the game here.
Nexus turret number 1 gone. Nexus turret number 2 telling a very similar story, Irene. Nexus under fire. Zig hanging around. Darshan in the back line trying to make the taunts happen. Afromu is down. Huhi too. And Phoenix1 have found a rampage for the jungler. This should be the ace. The double kill for Mike Young. Darshan the last man standing. And we are going to game number 3.
Phoenix1 take the game. And honestly, a good performance there from them. The mid-game is really where you were looking for this team. That early part, the skirmishes went all in their favor. Mike Young was a beast in this game. Really some screw-ups top, but then he was able to turn that around. The 2 kills on Darshan, showing up middle, showing up at the objectives. A different look for Phoenix1 in that mid-game.
9, 2, and 10 on the Nidalee. 8, 1, and 10 on the Cassiopeia. Mike Young and Ryu doing everything they possibly can to make sure this team finds a win.
Yeah, and then in that mid-game, Xpecial, I think, was really big in stopping a lot of CLG getting back in the game, because Afromu, you could see, really just kept wanting to engage, and then he kept nomming the guy who he was trying to actually go on, and I feel like that stopped so much. Arrow could have died 2 more times than that game, and then it would have been a very different fight.
Absolutely. The Tahm Kench power to save somebody. And even like you mentioned, buying the QSS on the Tahm Kench, saying, look, even if you get me, if you get my AD carry, I have another get-out-of-jail-free card, which gives him another get-out-of-jail-free card. We've got our analyst standing by to break down that series-tying game.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. That's right. For Phoenix1, they tied up the series at 1-1. Now, we've seen them do that before just yesterday with a quick 25-ish minute game 2 victory. So it's all about closing out that third game, and we'll get to what they might need to do in order to end this series. But let's look at how this one kind of played out. Mike Young here on the Nidalee. So a very aggressive early game champion here with plenty of farming potential. What are our thoughts on Champs League and how it developed?
This is one of the Lucian mid games that I really, really like in terms of the draft that they've got for it. They don't have a ton of magic damage, but the other team doesn't stack it super easily. Obviously, Renekton will be able to get some armor, and on the flip side, maybe Tahm Kench, but they don't have any real lockdown CC. So you saw a lot of these fights. Lucian was running wild, and there was no real way for them to lock him down if it wasn't a Renekton or a Varusol. Because once those are out, there's nothing to stop the Lucian from going crazy. And then you have good front line, good setup to make sure that he has someone in front of him and he doesn't need to front line himself.
Right.
So I really like this as a time to take the Lucian mid. That said, I think P1's draft made sense as well. It's very, very lane dominant and kind of snowball reliant. And they, for the most part, were able to execute on that.
Let's take a look at some of the early action then that took place in this game. 1-for-1 trade in the top river, turning into some attention as well in the top lane here. Mike Young on the invade.
Yeah, he started things out, harassed Dardoch, got his flash, gets collapsed on, gonna get in trouble, but, you know, P1 completely in sync in this, able to get in range, and then Mike Young loses his mind a little bit. That's a Mikey play, not running down towards Cassio, running up, and the problem is that gives the double buffs over to the top lane Galio, and Darshan from ahead with that
solo
yeah,
kill.
gets the triple Doran's rings, able to really start dominating
But
the
here's
lane,
the thing, Mikey realizes he lost the top lane, so he's got to make a visit back.
Yeah, he wants to help his top lane out. Doesn't want him to lose the game off his mistake, so he makes repeated attempts. And all over the map, actually, Mike Young did a good job of getting involved and finding more kills. A couple in the top lane, one in the mid lane, all over the map.
Demonstrating a little bit of mental fortitude here for the team and, you know, being able to refocus in the moment within the game as a rookie. Very impressed by all of that. Here we have the turret dive, boom, 2 kills go over, and we've bounced right back. And as we speak about mental fortitude and focus, I have to believe that, you know, Phoenix1, they've been handing out these, here you can get it right here, these fancy little fidget spinners. Has got to have at least a big role and at least a focus. Don't you think, Mark? A lot of focus? Yeah, okay. There we have it. Moving on. No, these are fun. It's a fun, a fun little token of appreciation handed out throughout the audience today. But let's move ahead now to our next replay. CLG getting a 2-0 here, then giving up 3 kills plus the Baron. So this is kind of a really big turning point here for Phoenix1, able to grab that global objective.
This was definitely a situation where P1, team comp is probably a little bit harder to team fight on. Good engage there by the Rakan, setting up the Galio follow-up. That's one of the things you always talk about with the Galio is having someone kick it off. And then Huhi coming in the flank here, he is a little scared of Ryu, but other than that, you see he's always being able to find opportunities to pepper in these shots. And they don't definitively win this team fight. You see a lot of guys running away at low health. Clearly a CLG victory, but after the initial kill on Mike Young, they're only able to grab Zig, and the other members are still alive. Ryu and Arrow still pretty strong at this point in the game. They're farther ahead. And then when they start this Baron off, they all start getting low. They still have especially kind of prime front line as well. So Arrow gets really aggressive. Ryu able to back him up, and CLG's kind of stuck now. Do we finish the Baron? Do we turn off? They're not super clean. Afro kind of wrapped around the backside. Didn't get a great engage. And off the back of that, P1's able to grab the Baron for themselves. And this is really kind of what closes the game out. Goes from about a 3 or 4K gold lead up all the way to a 10K gold
Exactly.
lead.
Without a doubt, the turning point there in terms of that, gold advantage growing exponentially. But the nail in the coffin came at 36 minutes, and this was off of a CLG engage. And I do really have to call into question the strategic decision-making here to go for an engage when you have both side lanes pushing in your favor, and there's no necessarily real reason that you have to start this fight.
There's no need to start it. It's nice that Darshan does see an opportunity to get a big 4-man taunt, but there's not great follow-up on his team. They kind of want to be fighting front to back. And when they go in, Darshan does not have any follow-up after that 4-man taunt, has to ult out. And now you're in a losing team fight situation when you have, like you said, this map advantage. And the problem is, not only do you lose 1 man, but now you see that after that play, P1 goes to threaten Elder Dragon. That forces CLG to go into Baron, and then they use the Tahm Kench global mobility to collapse, get a couple more kills, and secure their last Baron.
And that's where we have to give credit to Phoenix1, is that in that situation, they kind of recognize the push and pull of the map itself, saying there's 2 big global objectives. So if we feint towards the Elder Drake, we have to be aware of the fact that they might make that move towards the Baron. That's exactly what CLG does. They recollapse, use that Tahm Kench ult to pick up 2 more kills. Then Baron, Elder, walk it in through the base.
You're beginning to see the impact of Xpecial already. I don't think you could count on Shading to make that call. 1, Tahm Kench probably isn't in his champion pool, and 2, does he know that, like, hey guys, they're going to be on Baron, let's go back up there, I'll use my Tahm Kench and we'll catch them out. That's something that you got to look at and say, this looks pretty good on that side. Mike Young, huge early game on Nidalee, bit of a risky pick. You do need to have those kinds of early games to be useful with the champion.
Yeah.
But he does it, the team closes out. Close team fighting out of CLG, but they're a great team. They're, like we said, maybe the best team in the league right now.
Yeah, Mike Young picking up player of the game for that performance there on the Nidalee. We'll have to put up another good one here in Game 3 in order to take the series as a whole, but I want to jump back to this Xpecial point in that it is very clear, once again, when you have experienced players on teams that have large gold advantages, things seem to fall into place. They know how to execute and close out the game. It's where Phoenix1 is either in a deficit or closer to even is where I'll really be looking to see how much of an effect Xpecial has on their chances at victory.
Right, because even in the first game, it was still a pretty scrappy game, a little bit back and forth before CLG really kind of grabbed that one and closed it out off some picks and things like that. So, obviously you might be fine kind of going for this all-in strategy. We talk about different teams. If you're struggling in the late game, maybe you do need the gold lead. Now with the experienced shot calling, if you can get a gold lead, maybe with Xpecial having these kind of playmaking supports and kind of guiding the team, you have what you need to close out, like we said, that 4 or 5K gold lead.
All right, we're 1-1 in this series between Phoenix1 and CLG. Meet us back here in just a few minutes to see if P1 can get their first series win against Counterlogic Gaming. Don't touch that browser. You're watching